All right, welcome back. It is time to bring in our State House insiders tonight. John Parker, our Republican strategist, Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist. Work on the budget at the State House continues. July 1st has come and gone. John, what are you hearing over at the State House on the budget?
Well, we're going to come back for conference committee. It's not the same type of chaos that we see when there's budget shutdowns in D.C. We are working under a concurrent resolution, meaning government is still funded, it's still running, but we don't know. We're still working off an old budget, and we don't know where it's going to ultimately land. They'll decide, are we going to have a senior property tax cut for seniors, or are we going to go ahead and put these community investments into our localities like interchanges and fire stations? And we'll have to wait to see until July 14th when the conference committee meets.
Well, let me just remind you that Republicans control every single leg on the stool of government in South Carolina. And so it is certainly their responsibility to give the people of South Carolina a budget that is reflective of their priorities. I know there's some discussion about whether we have community investment projects or whether we're not, whether we fund political priorities or whether we're not. The bottom line is this budget needs to be reflective of the needs of the people of South Carolina. Traditionally, Republicans have had this mantra that they are giving taxpayers' money back to the tax dollars, while yet South Carolinians do not feel that dollar returning to their pocket. So we'll see what happens at the end of the day. This budgetary process will be dominated by Republicans who control the General Assembly. So it's up to them to give us a budget. I would hope that there's some camaraderie and some intertwining, if you will, with Democrats to get this done so that we can propose this, at least to the public, as a bipartisan manner.
John, as we speak of Republicans tonight, John, they have filed a lawsuit, the state Republican Party filing a lawsuit to close the primaries to only registered Republicans. What is this all about, and why file this now?
Oh, the Republicans, those that are involved with the Republican Party, met at a convention just before the 4th of July. They voted, those most active Republicans across the state voted to move forward with a lawsuit that they filed on July 4th, saying that we have a freedom of association and that we have the right to close the primary and make sure Democrats are not crossing over to pick our nominees. This has been an outcry from many Republicans, particularly in the grassroots, that they have been concerned that oftentimes there may be an influx of Democrats that are kind of monkeying around with who the ultimate Republican primary pick is. We saw with this most recent election that clearly wasn't the case with the landslide victories and momentums behind candidates like Alan Wilson. But we'll see what the judge rules. And we may be looking at a state that now registers by party here, depending on how the court rules.
You know, I'm so tickled by this, John, by a couple of things. This is the party who claims independence and freedom, yet you're trying to minimize or shrink or exterminate the freedom for people to participate how they wish. South Carolina has always operated, at least in my political lifetime, at the same speed, at the same rate, at the same capacity. So all of a sudden you have some extremists who've now hijacked the Republican Party, by and large, both in South Carolina and around the country. So all of a sudden, the state must buckle to change the rules, at least on the Republican side. I think that's silly. I think it's out of touch. There will be life after the MAGA movement. The aspect is I am confident because they tell me there are Republicans who find themselves voting in the Democratic primary. And what we see around the country is more and more people are becoming independent thinkers. There's some years people vote in Democratic primaries, some years people vote Republicans primaries. So I think this eliminates the potential for an independent thinker to participate. And just one follow-up, John, when you talk about Democrats meddling in Republican primaries, I mentioned how Republicans tend to vote in Democratic primaries, but also around the country, there are Republicans who are uplifting candidates associated in the Democratic primary for the sake of tarnishing the election. So it can't be what's good for me is not good for thee.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you're a little bit upset about Democrats not being able to pick the Republican nominee, but
I think that's where you misunderstood. I'm not bothered at all. I'm just saying, do not be hypocritical. Don't say you're for freedom and independence, but yet you want to have this continued theme of suffocating or silencing voices when it's convenient from you. As a black man, as an African American who born and raised in the South, I know what it's like to have my voice silenced and suffocated by Republicans who want to implement voter suppression. Now you're just trying to do it amongst yourselves.
All right, John, Antoine, we'll leave that conversation right there. But Antoine, I know there is a special viewer watching tonight, correct?
You know, JR, I'm so thrilled I had the opportunity for the second time in the past few weeks to spend time with a faithful watcher of this program, Miss Linda Benjamin, who is not feeling her best. Had a chance to spend time with her. She's my neighbor. My prayers, my thoughts, and my everything is with her and her family during this very tumultuous time. We believe in the power of prayer. We believe in the power of healing, but we also believe in the power of God's will. So, Miss Benjamin, I know you're watching. I am praying for you, and I'm hoping for a recovery. But most importantly, I'm hoping for God's will to be done.
All right, indeed. All right, Antoine, thank you so much. John Parker, thank you.